Good evening, everybody. I'm Davy Jones from WQEL, and the reason I am up here is to introduce our Master of Ceremonies and to explain a little bit about what we're doing with the radio station in Crawford County now. We're doing a podcast. This is not live on air. It is a video podcast of tonight's events, and we're going to be telecasting this on Crawford County Now and WBCO and WQEL Facebook pages. Now, back over here in this table is John Kreider. John is our engineer. There's a good reason why John is our engineer. That's because I don't have a clue on how to do this. I'm on-air talent only, but John is better by accident than I am on purpose. And John, did I get that right? As far as we're on Crawford County Now and CrawfordCountyNow.com and the WBCO and WQEL Facebook pages. Now, I'm going to be starting here in just a second, and we're going to hit the air with this, and then we'll introduce Colby, and we'll be rolling. Ready, John? Ready? Good evening, everybody. This is Davy Jones from 92.7 FM WQEL and Crawford County Now, as well as 107.5 WBCO with your Crawford County Sports Hall of Fame Induction Ceremonies podcast, presented on CrawfordCountyNow.com and the WBCO WQEL Facebook pages. We're brought to you in part by Steve and Josh Stanek at Attica Lumber, John Gobrek at Pizzanello's Pizza, Todd Nye Builders since 1946, Terry Gribble at your Galleon Community Center, YMCA, Joe Klein and everybody at the Galleon offices of First Federal Bank of Ohio, Adam Weisner at Advanced Fiber Technology, the Kimmerline family of Osiris Road Materials since 1939, and Larry Milliron and Bob Henderson at the House of Investments in Galleon. Engineering and camera work by WQEL's John Kreider. Our sports director is Dan Messerschmidt. Ladies and gentlemen, here's your Master of Ceremonies, Colby Bryant.
Good evening, everyone. We are going to start out with Mike Cauley. I first want to say I got to meet him as a track coach at Galleon and Crestline, and just a fantastic human being. So, Mike grew up in Woodstock, Ohio, on a 1,000-acre family farm. Mike had a passion for playing sports and excelled on the football field. He was quite a force on the defensive side of the ball. He was the only senior playing football. Mike also played baseball, track, and basketball. He graduated from Triad High School and then enrolled at Ohio Northern University. At ONU, he studied industrial arts education and played on the football and track and field teams. Mike played polar bear football for 4 years and was a 3-year letterman, and was a 2-year letterman in track and field as a discus thrower. Mike graduated in 1977, and after learning there was an opening in his field by Coach Wally Hood. He was hired by Principal Mac Morrison to teach industrial arts at Colonel Crawford. Mike's career at Colonel Crawford lasted from 1977 until retirement in 2022. In the beginning of his career, he coached junior high football, basketball, and even refereed. Mike was mentored in coaching by Ron Rankin, assistant coaches Gary Dvorak, Ted Bruner, Glenn Diebler, Chuck Neal, and Rick Thorpe on the football staff. These coaches taught Mike a lot about football and how they handled kids, keeping the players' best interests at heart. His great impact in sports came with coaching high school football at Colonel Crawford, Bucyrus, and Willard High Schools. He also served as a track and field coach for the Eagles. Mike married Melinda Krall in 1999 and helped to raise her 2 daughters, Amanda and Brittany. Mike passed in 2023. Mike Cauley. If you want to take his plaque when you leave. Thanks, buddy.
Good evening. First, I just want to thank and congratulate all the inductees tonight and thank everyone who came out to celebrate these accomplishments. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jack Reed, and I'm Mike Cauley's nephew. Mike and I had a special relationship. He was like a father figure to me growing up. We bonded over sports and athletics. Once his football season was over, if there was a football game to watch, we were there to see it. We even went out of state multiple times. For those of you who are avid football fans, some of the most famous people in games we saw was when Buckeye Central played Marion Local in the state championship game. We saw one of the most famous state championship games all time when five-star prospect Matty Mock threw a Hail Mary at the very end of the game. We watched future first-team All-American and NFL QB Mitch Trubisky. And then finally, we got the pleasure to watch Heisman Trophy winner and NFL MVP Lamar Jackson. Needless to say, if there was a football game, we were there to watch it. But nonetheless, we're here to celebrate Mike tonight. Mike was caring, passionate, and dedicated. Mike cared about his players' performance on the field, but more importantly, he cared about their accomplishments and growth off the field. It was almost automatic that anywhere Mike and I would go, or anywhere we would go with the family, someone would come up and say, "Hey, Coach Cauley." Even when we were on vacation in Alaska, he knew somebody. And in leading up to tonight's induction, I've read countless comments and testimonials online of parents and past players who are eternally grateful for the coaching and mentorship Mike provided to their sons and players. This past season, Colonel Crawford cemented Mike's coaching legacy with a plaque underneath the scoreboard at the Colonel Crawford football field. At this recognition, along with his funeral, past players showed up from all over the country, and I think this is a testament that shows the profound positive impact that Mike had on his players throughout the years. Mike was passionate about what he did in coaching. Mike and I would watch film together, and he would watch the same play 5+ times to study it, and I didn't understand it at the time. But he was making sure every single one of his players were doing their assignment, and he wanted to learn exactly what the opposing team was going to do. Most importantly, Mike was dedicated. Even with football and teaching, Mike was dedicated to his wife Melinda, his daughters Amanda and Brittany, and the rest of his family. Mike was dedicated to his teams, whether that be at Colonel Crawford, Bucyrus, or Willard, but he was especially dedicated to Colonel Crawford. I believe, if I'm correct, Coach Berner, until this very past season, when Colonel Crawford made the playoffs, Mike was a part of every single conference championship or playoff win in school history. I don't believe that happened by happenstance, and that there was a common denominator on all those teams, and that was Coach Cauley. All of this is to say, while Mike is no longer with us, he would humbly accept this award, and I could not be prouder to speak on his behalf for this recognition. Thank you, guys.
Good evening. My name is Jake Bruner. I'm the athletic director at Colonel Crawford. I'm current head football coach. Coach Cauley was, my teacher and my high school football coach, and we actually played for the same college coach. His college coach at Ohio Northern was Wally Hood, and then I played for Coach Hood. Both of us had our career with the same college football coach, so it puts in perspective how long our college football coaches, or his college football coach and my college football coach coached for. So it was kind of the fact that he coached me, and then I would then coach and play for his former college coach, and then he would actually coach for me at Bucyrus, says a lot about his influence in this area. A lot to say about Coach Cauley. My wife said I got 5 minutes, and that's it. If you know Coach Cauley, nothing happened for 5 minutes. Okay. Coach Cauley time, as they called it, 5-minute conversation would be 45 minutes. So if I look back in the back there to the left, it's because my wife has me on a timer, and she says, listen, and she's the vice president of this thing, so I don't want to get in trouble. So a couple things that come to mind. I've talked about Coach Cauley many times. I was really proud. My father, who started his career at Colonel Crawford, as did Coach Cauley, were on the same staff. Dan Gorbett, a lot of those names that were mentioned. We put a big stone this year with a commemorative rock under our scorers table, or our football scores table. And I was really happy because I know Coach Cauley would have never asked for that. But if there was one thing that he would have wanted, that would where it would be, because he's always going to be there. And I've said a lot of things, and we could talk about the championships he's won. He was the head football coach for 16 years at Colonel Crawford. Got the pleasure to have Dan Cook, one of his best friends, offensive coordinator at Colonel Crawford in the 80s, come and speak to our team this year. And we talked a lot of stories to the kids about Coach Cauley, and obviously our guys know Coach Cauley. He was a teacher for 45 years, mentored a lot of people. Coach Cauley was an assistant football coach for Ron Rankin and Gary Dvorak in the 80s, where really got the program started in football. When Gary Dvorak left to go to Shelby, my father was the athletic director and said, Coach Cauley, you're going to be the coach. And Coach Cauley said, no, I'm not. One thing about Coach Cauley that always stuck with me was how humble he was. He looked at my father, who he was very good friends with, and he said, Ted, I'm not ready. And my dad said, you're going to be the football coach. And he was very reluctant. And obviously he took the job. He worked really, really hard. It was everything to him, teaching, coaching, track. He was always busy. He was always at the school. When Todd Martin and Jake Bruner, that's me as the principal, would say, Bubby goes, you guys are always at the school. You guys work 90 hours a week. We'd say, Coach Cauley puts in more time. Now, he might have been sleeping on Sundays for 12 hours, but it still counts. But the things that he did was he put a lot of time into kids. And he put a lot of time into his players, to his coaches. He cared. If he's the guy you needed something, he'd be there for you. And we talked to our team a lot about being humble. We talked to them about doing what's best for the team. When he was brought in and the end of his head coaching career at Colonel Crawford, his last couple years hadn't gone well. He was very frustrated. He told me this privately many times, that it was really hard. That basically it was time to go in a different direction, and he said afterwards they were right. They needed to go in a different direction. He still taught at Colonel Crawford. He still coached track at Colonel Crawford. He went over to Willard with Chris Hawkins, won an NOL championship, was a part of some playoff teams there that were really good. Until I got the head football job at Bucyrus, and I was able to get him as an assistant for 7 years at Bucyrus with me. And our guys at Bucyrus, when he came with his gray hair going everywhere, were like, "Who is this guy?" But boy, did they love him. And, when he went back to Colonel Crawford to finish his career as an assistant coach and coach for Coach Teglovic and then eventually for me, what I always reminded our guys, our young people about was, let's be honest here. Guy gave 16 years as a head football coach, 34 years to Colonel Crawford as a coach, track, football, all those things. Taught for 45 years at Colonel Crawford. Went and won an NOL championship and some playoff as an assistant coach for Chris Hawkins at Willard. Helped Bucyrus have the first 9-win season in 20 years. Have some of the best 2, 3, 4, 5-year runs in wins with me. And then he went back to the place to be an assistant to help Coach Teglovic and myself win a lot of games. And not very many people would have that humility to do that. For him, it was always about the kids. It was always about Colonel Crawford. It was never about him and getting the recognition. One of my favorite articles that Gary Ogle, a longtime sports writer in this area that has passed away a while ago, wrote about him. I was in college. Even when I mention it, I always think of it. His quote was, I never felt good about Coach Cauley walking away from Colonel Crawford, because I never saw a guy love his job so much. And it was never, when we lost a game, it was never our fault. It was his fault. He always blamed himself. And whenever we won, it was because the guys did a great job. The 1995 Buckeye Central Bucks are over here today, and unfortunately I remember that because I was a junior in high school. And I believe it was 44-21. I hope it was that close, because it really wasn't. They could have beat us 150-21. But I do remember the next year. because obviously Buckeye Central, an unbelievable season with Coach Tracy, and that team was really special. And the next year, when we were a lot better at Colonel Crawford, my senior year, we were up 28-0, and we were ready. We wanted to put 44 on there. Coach Cauley pulled us all out of the game, and we were mad. We were like, hey, those dudes whipped us last year. They just killed us, and they were being nice. But we wanted to get that many points on the board. Coach Cauley just went down and ripped all of us. And he said, listen, you're all out of the game. Shut your mouth. Be humble. We're winning. We're moving on. And that was the point of him, was always about doing the right thing the right way. And Dan Mettersmith knows this. As a young football coach at Bucyrus, I sometimes would lose my cool and say crazy things, and maybe get on officials sometimes a little bit. And one night we won, I think, at Riverdale, and I was ready to go toe to toe with every official that was there, and I had every rule, and I told Dan Mettersmith, put everything in the paper that I'm sitting down word by word. I'm probably yelling at Dan Mettersmith. And Mike saw me on the bus, and he goes, did you really do that? I said, heck yeah, I did. I meant every word of it, Coach. He's like, you call him right now. He goes, you do not know what you're doing. And he just ripped me. I called Dan Mettersmith. Thank you, Dan, by the way, for taking those words that I said out of there. But that was the kind of person he was. He was a mentor. He cared about people. He cared about doing the right thing. And he cared about, obviously, the kids he coached, especially about those kids at Colonel Crawford. And his legacy of how he treated people and the humility in which he did it will always resonate with the people that coached for him, the players that played for him, and with the community that were around him. So congratulations to all the award winners tonight. Thank you for being here, and ready for our next one. Thank you, Coach Cauley.
All right, our next inductee is Coach Phil Joseph. I had the pleasure, I was a Galilean boy growing up, and when you thought of Bucyrus basketball, you thought of Coach Joseph. I mean, he was there forever. So Phil grew up in Zanesville, Ohio, and was part of a large, loving Lebanese family with 30 first cousins who were like brothers and sisters. The bond they shared growing up helped shape Phil into a one-of-a-kind man who was loved by all who knew him. Phil was passionate about playing basketball and spent countless hours on the outdoor court next to his home. This love of the game laid the foundation for his athletic success as he became a standout player at Bishop Rosecrans High School and later played at the University of Rio Grande, where he earned a degree in education in 1969. He earned his master's degree from Union College in Kentucky in 1972. After his playing days, Phil transitioned into coaching. He mentored generations of players, emphasizing fundamentals of basketball and life lessons of teamwork, discipline, and perseverance. Phil coached at Marysville, Galilean, and Utica high schools before landing a position of head coach at Newark Catholic High School. Under his leadership, the Green Wave won 6 league titles and was named a Lincoln County Coach of the Year in 1978. His 1976 team made it to the Sweet 16 regional basketball tournament. Coach Joseph took the head coaching job at Bucyrus in 1980. Phil had an outstanding career at Bucyrus High School, dedicating over 4 decades to teaching, coaching, and supporting students. With 32 years as a teacher and 37 years of basketball coaching, his passion for sports and education is undeniable. Phil's exceptional contributions have been recognized through several prestigious awards, such as the Bob Arzen Award for long-term coaching at a single school and the Ohio High School Athletic Association's Respect for the Game Award. He also earned the Ohio High School Basketball Coaches Hall of Fame Award. He was inducted into the Bucyrus City Schools Hall of Fame in 2019. His influence as a teacher is evident through his 5-time recognition as an inspiring teacher. Phil wasn't just a teacher and a coach. He was a mentor, a storyteller, a quick-witted giant who left a mark on every student, athlete, and colleague who crossed his path. In honor of his remarkable legacy, the basketball court at Bucyrus High School was named after him, with a dedication ceremony held on January 20th, 2024. Phil's enduring impact on the school and community exemplified his commitment to excellence and mentorship. A day prior to his passing, Coach Jay was awarded membership into the Crawford County Sports Hall of Fame of 2024. The ceremony will be held today, obviously, and Phil was most humbled by this gesture. Phil passed away on January 26th. Phil was married to Pat and had 2 children, Phil and Melissa. Coach Phil Joseph.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Randy Blankenship, and I'm the president of the Bucyrus City Schools Board of Education. It's hard to put into words what it means to stand here tonight. This is an incredible honor, and truthfully, one of the most emotional moments of my life. Not because I don't know what to say, but because I want to do justice to someone who meant so much to me and to all of us, Coach Phil Joseph. Like many others, I first met Phil in the classroom as my health teacher in 10th grade. But it wasn't until about 6 years ago when I announced I was running for the Bucyrus School Board that we became close. We talked on the phone regularly and spent countless hours together at Bucyrus sporting events, tucked in a corner of the gym, talking about life, sports, and everything in between. A lot of those early conversations were focused on the Redmond mascot discussion. Phil was strongly in favor of the mascot not changing, so much so that he came to our town hall board meeting to let everyone know that if the mascot changed, it would wipe out his entire wardrobe and he couldn't afford to buy new clothes. Tonight, I have the privilege of completing what I am calling the Phil Joseph Triple Crown. I had the honor of introducing him on the night he retired from coaching, then again when the basketball court was dedicated and named Phil A. Joseph Court last year, and now tonight as he takes his rightful place in the Crawford County Sports Hall of Fame. Phil's coaching career began in 1969 at Maysville local schools, and his journey spanned more than 5 decades. He moved on to Gallion as an assistant coach, then earned his first head coaching job at Utica High School in 1972. But it was at Newark Catholic during a 6-year tenure where Phil's coaching career truly took off. 3 league titles, a Sweet 16 appearance in 1976, and then named Licking County League Coach of the Year in 1978. Sorry about that. Then came 1980, the year Phil arrived in Bucyrus. He thought it would be a stop on the journey, but it became his home. He served as head boys basketball coach for 5 seasons, compiling a 36-71 record. But numbers never told the full story. That win total actually exceeded Bucyrus' combined wins from the previous 9 years. And when his time as head coach ended, he did something few others do. He stayed. He spent the next 36 years as an assistant coach, working with 11 different head coaches, always offering his wisdom, calm demeanor, and steady presence. In total, Phil coached for 52 years, 42 of them at Bucyrus, mentoring players across generations. He coached 6 of the top 10 scorers in program history and helped guide the 2002-2003 Redmen to a share of the North Central Conference title, Bucyrus' first in 35 years. He was a coach's coach, but he was also an educator, teaching history, English, and health science for over 30 years before retiring in 2012, and then continuing on as a substitute and mentor. His accomplishments speak for themselves. Over 100 career wins, Bob Arnsden Award for coaching over 20 years at the same school, multiple OHSAA commendations, the Respect the Game Award in 2013, Mac Morrison Award for Lifetime Service, awarded by the Northwest District Athletic Board in 2017, inducted in the Bucyrus City Schools Hall of Fame in 2019, and now enshrined in the Crawford County Sports Hall of Fame. Even after retiring, Phil stayed deeply involved. He became the flag man at Bucyrus volleyball and basketball games, proudly lowering and raising the American flag before every contest. He took that role seriously and joked that he was aiming to earn all league honors. Phil was also a gifted storyteller, and if you ever spent more than 5 minutes with him, you probably heard at least one. One of my favorites was the time Phil learned that classroom evaluators would be visiting his classroom. Knowing they were observing student engagement, Phil crafted a plan and told his class, "When I ask a question, if you know the answer, raise your right hand. If you don't, raise your left." The evaluators walked in and Phil fired off the first question. Every student raised a hand. He called on one. The student shouted out, "Mr. Joseph, I raised my left hand." Phil loved to show movies to his English class. During his time at Newark Catholic, he decided to show the class Romeo and Juliet. Phil had actually never watched the movie and was unaware of the inappropriate content. The school superintendent just so happened to walk by with Romeo's backside exposed on the TV. He also loved to show the movie Hoosiers, and his justification was they were speaking English. Another one of his go-to jokes involved his days at Rio Grande College, where his basketball idol, Bevo Francis, played a decade earlier. Phil would say, "Bevo and I averaged 50 points per game. Bevo averaged 48, and I averaged 2. And before I close, I want to take a moment to thank 3 very important people. Because none of this, and I truly mean none of this, would have been possible without their support, their sacrifice, and their patience. To Pat, Phil Jr., and Melissa, thank you. Thank you for sharing Phil with all of us for so many years. The late practices, the long game nights, the phone calls, the scouting trips, the heartbreakers and buzzer beaters. You carried just as much of the load as he did, and we are all better because of it. And Pat, I think we all remember the night the basketball court was officially named Phil A. Joseph Court. The gym was packed, the community was buzzing, Phil was glowing. He gave a great speech, heartfelt, humble, vintage Phil. Except for one small thing, he forgot to thank his wife. Now, in his defense, it was an emotional night. But afterward, he said, "I've been married to her for nearly 50 years. If she doesn't know how I feel by now, I've got bigger problems." So tonight, on his behalf, Pat, thank you. Truly, for every night spent alone while he was at practice or a game, for every meal that went cold, and for every ounce of support you gave, thank you. And before I leave you, I want to share one more story. One that perfectly captures Phil's confidence, his wit, and the kind of traditions he unknowingly created. Phil had a long-standing theory when it came to high school basketball. He believed that if a team was up by 8 points or more with 2 minutes to go, the game was officially over. No debate. The first coach to witness this theory in action was Bucyrus head coach Dave Hershey, who's here tonight. Bucyrus was in a close game with Norwalk. With just under 2 minutes left, the Redmen went up by 8. Without hesitation, Phil leaned back, propped his foot on his knee, and said, "This game is over." And that was that. The theory was born. Even now, those of us lucky enough to sit with him after his retirement still invoke the Phil Joseph rule. And every time it happens, every time we say game's over, it feels like he's still with us in that gym, still calling the shots and still keeping the faith. Phil once said, "Even though we didn't win as many games as we would have liked, the relationships I developed over the years were most important. Seeing former players become good citizens is fulfilling." That was his legacy, not just the wins or the awards, but the people, the stories, the memories, and the love he gave to Bucyrus. So tonight, we don't just remember him, we celebrate him, we thank him, and we promise to keep his spirit alive in every game, every classroom, every handshake, and every story told in this community. Thank you, Phil. We miss you, and we will never forget you. And at this time, I believe Phil's son, Phil Jr., is going to be coming up to say a few words.
Thank you very much. I just simply wanted to say my dad, when he was informed of this honor, was obviously very humbled. We've heard that word a few times already today. He was very thankful. He was very over the moon. He told, I was able to see him tell multiple people that he was being inducted. He was very excited. Just wanted to say thank you to everybody here. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee is Lance Kimmel, and I'm going to go back in history here. I think 1987, 1988, somewhere in that range, the three-point line came into play. I don't believe Lance played when there was a three-point line. Is that correct? Correct? Yep. So when you hear some of these stats that he puts up, they are very impressive. Lance, he played at Buckeye Central. He had an impressive 3-year varsity record of 70-7. That is impressive. Most teams lose 7 games in a season. He does that in a career. That's very impressive. Scoring 1,120 career points with an average of 14.5 points per game. As a 3-year varsity starter, he played a pivotal role in leading his team to 3 consecutive NCC championships from 1982 to 1984. 3 sectional championships, 2 district championships, and a regional championship in 1983, culminating in a state finalist appearance that same year. Lance's senior year was particularly remarkable, earning him numerous accolades including First Team NCC, District 6 Player of the Year, Northwest Region Player of the Year, First Team All-Ohio, and the distinction of scoring 25 points in the News Journal All-Star Classic. Lance continued his basketball career at Ashland University on a full athletic scholarship. Lance scored 1,180 points, averaging 10.5 points per game. In 1988, he was recognized as a Division II Academic All-American and earned second-team All-Great Lakes Valley Conference honors. His combination of athletic and academic excellence has made him a standout figure in Ohio basketball history. Lance Kimmel.
Thank you. I appreciate those kind words. There was one thing, though, that I wanted to address. You named off a number of different records and some accomplishments. And one thing that you failed to mention that I wanted to share with everybody, and that is a record that I hold, and that is in the Mansfield News Journal North-South All-Star Game, I hold the record for the most turnovers in that game of 8. Yeah, that's not a joke. And that's a bad record. I don't know if you guys realize that. But there's some significance to that because I think most of you know that a couple years ago, LeBron broke Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time career scoring record. And that record stood for 43 years. I now have the distinct honor of the longest standing record in basketball at 41 years. So I'd like to thank the committee tonight for this honor. It truly is humbling and extremely proud to be here. I was here a year ago with our 82-83 Buckeye Central basketball team, and I saw a number of those people's photos on the wall back there, and a number of those people that I had a lot of respect for, admired, and it's an honor to be in that company. I also want to thank the people who put this event on tonight. Like I said, I was here a year ago, and it's very nice, and I appreciate everybody doing this. Sports has been a huge part of my life, and I think two of the best things that come out of sports is that it inspires you, and that it inspires you as well as unites people. And this is kind of what this event does, I think, as far as bringing people together. And I think it's a great event. And then I also want to congratulate the other inductees tonight. I read up on everybody's accomplishments, and it's an honor to be going into the class of 2024 with you all. I want to recognize some people that are here tonight. And there's more people here than I expected, actually, but First, I want to recognize Todd Karras and Kenny Capel. Todd and Kenny and I started this journey together. We started on kindergarten and then through 8 years of school at St. Bernard, and then in high school. And they were with me the whole way. And they were not only my classmates, my teammates, but they were my best friends. And it means a lot to me that they're here tonight. So thank you, guys. Randy Krebs and Scott Gray are here tonight. So Scott and Randy were a year ahead of us, and they were kind of, in my opinion, always the leaders of those teams that I played on, from St. Bernard all the way through Buckeye Central. And I'm not really sure there's a lot of different descriptions what describes as great leaders. And to me, it was just that they had such a will to win that they inspired me to always work and be better, and just that they were great leaders in that aspect, and it means a lot to me too that they're here tonight. So thanks, guys. Phil Loy is also here. Phil joined us in high school actually, and he became a very close friend of mine, and I have a lot of admiration for him as well as Todd for what they do as far as coaching and teaching and impacting young people's lives. So I'm appreciative of him being here tonight as well. Before I continue on real quick, I wanted to go back. So when, like I said, Todd and Kenny and I and Scott and Randy played at St. Bernard as 5th and 6th graders, and then 7th and 8th graders, and then as sophomores and juniors and juniors and seniors. And then we, in high school added like Phil and Kelly. But in those years that the five of us played together, we had a record of 98-4. We were really good. We had a lot of fun. And, I'm standing up here, I get a talk tonight, but, it's kind of recognition for us, all of us, not just me, because of what we were able to do and the fun that we had. I'd also like to recognize Coach Moore is here tonight. Coach Moore and Mrs. Moore are here. Coach Moore was my head coach my freshman year and then my junior and senior year, and he was the right coach for me. He was on the court. He was extremely hard on me. He challenged me and expected a lot out of me. But off the court, he was my friend. He was a mentor, provided me with guidance and direction, and I appreciate that. I don't know if he remembers this, but he actually gave me a key to the school so that I could go into the school. Actually, he found out I was actually breaking into the school. You guys might remember that door Kenny and I used to walk into school. If you pulled on it really hard, it opened up. It didn't really lock. And I would go up there at nighttime, go into the junior high gym and go shoot. And he kind of that went on for like a year. And I think he found out about it. I don't think he was real happy about it. But then he turned around and gave me a key the next day. I think, he didn't want me to play, but I think he was more concerned that, maybe Rob Sheldon might have the FBI come in and have me arrested for breaking and entering or something. I appreciate you being here tonight. Growing up in New Washington, we didn't have a basketball court at my home, and I spent time playing at Kenny Capel's place and around St. Bernard in the parking lot. But where I spent the most amount of my time was at the Wechters court, which was backed up to ours, and it's the court where my dad taught me the game. It's where, he taught me to shoot. He taught me the right way to play. And I know that for a fact that everywhere I played, I made more baskets on that court than anywhere else. And, I spent so much time there. Jim Wechter and his family opened their home up to me. And they even said that I spent so much time there that his parents claimed me as a dependent on their tax returns of these years. So appreciative of that as well. From family here tonight that I want to recognize. My mom and dad are here, of course, tonight. My father's birthday is today. He is 81 years old today. That's pretty special. This isn't much of an award for me as it is for them. They're the ones that made the sacrifices and did so much for me as far as growing up to make this all happen. My brother Shane and his wife Vicky are here. I appreciate them being here. Shane was my #1 supporter and my best friend, so I appreciate them being here. And his two children are here too. I appreciate Nick and Cameron being here too. I grew up in New Washington there. It was a special time and it was a special place. As fun as it was for us as players and as exciting it was for the school, it was the entire community. And I'm sure the 95 football team knows what I'm talking about here. It was just, there was so much energy and excitement in the community and how happy we made people and the joy that we brought was something that, kind of stays with me and as far as the memories that I have of that time. And I was just fortunate and lucky to be able to do that in that community at that time with those guys over there. That's probably the thing that I remember most about my career is, the wins and losses and everything is great, but, I got to do it with a special group of people that made it truly valuable and enjoyable and lifelong memory for me. Am I out of time yet? Okay. I got a couple more things. There was some things that when I played that I was good at, and other things I was not so good at. And two of the things that I was not good at was complaints that I had was that I didn't pass, and that I didn't play defense. And I thought maybe tonight might be, it's been 41 years, but maybe tonight might be opportunity for me to kind of justify those things. So I was thinking about it, and on the passing thing, I'm right. Guys, I'm sorry, I can't even back it up. You're right, and if I could go back, I'd be a better passer. I really would be. But on the defensive thing, I really think, and I really wanted to play defense, and I really think I could have been like a lockdown defender, but Coach Moore's defensive scheme was just overwhelming to me. And I know you guys know where I'm going with this, but just for everybody else in this room, like our defensive scheme was like, if we score on a layup, we're going to 2-2-1 press, drop back into a 2-3 zone. If we score from the perimeter, we're going to 1-2-2-1 press, drop back into a 3-2 zone. If we turn it over, we're going to be in another defense. It was just overwhelming. And I had to ask Todd try to find Todd every time what defense we're in, because he knew, because I didn't. And Coach Morgan, when I was looking for pictures for this event, it kind of brought this to my memory, but Coach Morgan said in multiple post-game interviews, he said, referring to the other team, I think we confused them with our changing defenses. And I was like, well, hell yeah, you did. I was on your team and I didn't know what defense we were on. And it was, so back to my point, I think I could have been a good defensive player if I'd just known what defense we were in. I mean, there was times that I would drop back to play zone, only to find out we're supposed to be in a man-to-man, and my guy's scoring a wide-open layup underneath the basket. Coach Moore would be so mad, he'd be on the bench, and you guys remember, stomping his feet, yelling, Boomer, is that your man? I'd be like, no, I'd yell back, no, that's Kenny's man. So, sorry, I had to lie to him, else he'd take me out of the game. But wrapping this up, I know I got out of here. Basketball meant a lot to me, and it did a lot for me. It's no secret that my first job out of college, I got a job because the guy saw me playing the state tournament. And fortunate for me, he only saw the semifinal game, or I might be still in the unemployment line. But it was a special part of my life, and it still is because I work in the sports industry, it really was a great part of my life with so many great people and the relationships that it brought to me. Before I get off here, I want to introduce my family real quick. My three children are here. All our three children are here. My daughter Blake is here. She's 23, recent graduate, and she's the best singer in this room, and probably the best singer in most rooms. My son Brady is here. He actually just got married last summer in Notre Dame. His wife could not be with us tonight, Paige, our new daughter-in-law, but he's probably the smartest person in this room. And then the leader of the pack, our oldest son Connor, is here. He's from Indianapolis, and I just dropped a pen. He's probably the nicest person in this room. So, all those three kids, they're not kids anymore, they're great adults, and that's because of my amazing wife, Kathy, who will be 34 years next May. Our anniversary, 34 years next May. So I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm going to get down. Thank you.
All right, our next inductee, I actually got to watch him up close and personal, Colin McCullough. In middle school, Colin was told he wasn't big enough, strong enough, or fast enough to run hurdles. I think myself and Coach Roston can probably attest to that. We didn't say it, but we did think it. As a senior, he was probably, 5'8", 5'9", 120 pounds wet. And then you saw the rest of the athletes, and they looked like dudes, but he was the dude. He's very, very good. In 2017 at Jesse Owens Stadium, Colin became the State 2 Division champion in the 300-meter hurdles with a time of 37.77, while also earning a third-place finish in the 110-meter hurdles and a sixth-place finish in the 4x4 meter relay. The previous year, he was a state runner-up in the 4x1 meter relay and placed fourth in the 4x2. Colin's high school coach, Todd Roston, says this about Colin. He's so driven and determined that he knows in his mind he can do it, and he's going to do everything in his power to make it happen. It was probably before districts, we were trying to break him in a workout, and I think it was repeat 400s, and after about the third one, he is about gassed, and I'm like, are you done yet? He's like, no, coach, I got another one. I'm like, all right, buddy. But that was his will and determination, and that's why he was so good. While in high school, Colin gave back to his community by helping out with the Galleon YMCA youth track program. As a freshman, Colin never thought he'd be going to college for hurdles. He thought it would be for soccer. Colin was selected to represent Team Ohio in the Midwest Meet of Champions, where he placed fifth in the 300-meter hurdles. Colin, a fierce competitor, was a 5-time All-Ohioan. Colin set school and MOAC records in the 110 hurdles, 300-meter hurdles, cementing his legacy in Galleon High School athletics. He left Galleon High School with school records in the 4x1, 4x2, 4x4, 110 hurdles, and 300-meter hurdles. And indoor, he was the 60 hurdle champion and 400-meter dash indoor record holder. He continued his athletic and academic career at Ohio Northern University, where he competed at the collegiate level and earned his bachelor's degree in biology with minors in chemistry and psychology. Colin earned his master's in physician assistant studies from West Liberty University. Colin McCullough.
So I guess we'll start with the joke. Yes, my frame has not changed much since Coach Bright would like to bring that up. Still probably not the biggest guy in the room. But to start off, I want to thank the event center. I want to thank everyone working. Tell everyone else that is here that it's an honor to meet you all. It's an honor to be inducted. Starting out in high school, did not think that hurdles would be my thing, but I had amazing coaches, Coach Bright, Coach Roston, Coach Kyle Strout, Coach Michael Moore, and Coach Jamie Valentine, who told me it didn't matter how big you were, it didn't matter how strong you were, the things that mattered were commitment, drive, and willpower. Those things that they taught me at that very young age, middle school, high school, I applied throughout the rest of my life. Not only there on the track, but also in school, grad school, college, the whole nine. While probably the commitment part wasn't their favorite, as I'd show up to the track at 2:30 and it would be 7 p.m. and I would still be there sometimes. It was also probably a little harder on my parents that I would not be home until 7 from the track and then would leave the house immediately for other things. But the message that they gave me was impactful in my life. It made it to where I felt as though it didn't matter anymore. It didn't matter how big I was, how strong I was. It just mattered that I wanted to be there and I wanted to work for it. Coach Roston definitely was a supporter in that. We would go multiple times over to Tiffin in the middle of the winter through snowstorms, the 45-minute drive from Galleon just to have an hour at a track instead of running around the hallways of the high school. And on that note, of course, I also want to thank my parents who are here tonight with me, who put up with me for the 6 years that I did track and the many years of college track, traveling all over the state, multiple other states, even watching podcasts for when we ran in Georgia down there. Track was an important part for me in my life. It showed me that the determination and everything can make a difference. It made the difference from me being the shortest guy on the track, the smallest guy on the track, breaking my neck looking up at my competition on the starting line, to being the guy that would stand there waiting for them to finish while I just kind of hung out. I also remember another time that Coach Bright made a joke. We weren't able to run one of our races for a meet, and I looked at him and said, I want a long jump. I just want to try it, just for a meet. He looked at me and said, there's no way. You can't walk up there and do that. And if his story about middle school being told I wasn't big enough or strong enough says anything, it was, okay, you say I can't, watch me. I'm going to go do it. I think I ended up winning by half an inch that meet and kind of made him eat his words there, and definitely rubbed it in for the next couple of weeks in that. But not only were they my coaches in high school, I genuinely consider them to be mentors and friends. Even though I know that Coach Roston and Coach Bright are here tonight, but Coach Jamie Valentine was my hurdle coach for many years. She put up with a lot with me, watching film on repeat while in school, asking for advice and feedback constantly, to the point to where she would tell me that that's enough. We're fine. We're doing well. Just let it happen. But I was determined that to make everyone see that with determination you can do just about anything. It helped in college, having a couple of near season ending injuries, but determined to fight back, being able to be a leader on that team, and while not the success that I had in high school, I was able to make an impact with being a mentor to others. And then using that same concept that they all taught me of that willpower into grad school and going through becoming a physician assistant, starting in a very rural, underserved community in the ER there, getting to, again, give back what was given to me by all of them growing up. I know that I wouldn't be the man that I am today without each and every one of them, and I guess I'll kind of leave it there. It's an honor to be inducted with everyone tonight. It's an honor to get to meet everyone here tonight. I also want to thank the committee. Again, thank my parents and all the coaches that helped make an impact in my life and make me who I am today.
All right, our next inductee is Mike Shifer. He just seems like an all-around good guy. As I'm reading this, he was an honors graduate, senior class president, excelled in the areas of both basketball and baseball. He first began his athletic career at Mount Zion High School as a Bulldog for 2 years. During all 4 years in high school, he earned 8 varsity letters while competing in basketball and baseball. As the point guard for the newly formed Winford Royals, Mike was recognized as an All-Ohio first-team selection during his senior season on a team that won the North Central Conference title and the sectional championship. Also that winter, he earned a spot on the first-team All-District team and was awarded the Fred Taylor Player of the Week honor sponsored by 10 TV in Columbus. During Mike's junior year, he achieved first-team NCC and first-team All-District honors. As a sophomore, in the last year at Mount Zion, he gathered honorable mention All-Ohio, first-team Toledo All-Area, and the first-team All-County. To date, he still holds the record for most field goals in one game with 18 at Mohawk. 18. Mike scored 1,281 points in his career. During high school baseball and basketball careers, his teammates voted him most valuable player for his sophomore, junior, and senior years. Upon graduation, Mike played basketball for 4 years at Capital University and graduated in 1969. After receiving his master's degree in pupil personnel at The Ohio State University, he taught and coached at Grandview Heights High School, was a guidance counselor and head basketball coach at Edison High School, was a guidance counselor there, administrator, and coach at South Central School District, and ended his career as the principal at Port Clinton High School. Mike has been married to Wendy for 38 years and has a daughter, Megan, who lives in Felton, California, and a son, Lee, who lives in Aiken, South Carolina, with his wife, Susan. Wendy and Mike have 5 grandchildren together: Christopher, Michaela, Jessica, Pete, and Zoe. Chris, along with twins Mick and Jess, attend Clemson University, and I do believe we're going to have a video of Mike.
I'd like to say how proud I am to be a 2025 Hall of Fame inductee into the Crawford County Hall of Fame. A special thank you to Mr. Dane, Dr. Sarah, Mr. Allen, and Ms. Carol, and the Crawford County Hall of Fame Selection Committee for all the hard work and difficult decisions they make each year. I would like to congratulate the new Hall of Fame members, and a special thank you for all the fans who are supporting us tonight and have throughout our careers. I would like to thank my brother Gary and his wife Patty, my sister Bev, who has lived in Michigan as an avid Ohio State fan for over 50 years, and her husband Rich, my Hall of Fame brother Greg and his wife Verna, to our son Lee and daughter-in-law Suze, and our 5 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild Neil. I would like to thank my sister-in-law Sarah. As an outstanding athlete, teacher, attorney, and judge, she has been an integral part of our life. I would like to thank our daughter Megan and her friend Keith. Megan is one of the strongest people, both mentally and physically, that I have ever known. Finally, I would like to thank my wife Wendy, my partner for over 48 years, and my wife for 46 years. She has been at my side through all the ups and downs in my life, and I don't know what I would do without her. In 2018, I was honored to be inducted into the Wyandotte County Hall of Fame. All the people that I just mentioned who are here tonight were also there in 2018. My high school coach and his wife, Jim and Donna Bauer, were also present that evening. The 2 of them are no longer with us, but I owe Coach Bauer so much for my athletic career. 2 of the greatest fans that I have ever known are not here tonight either. Those 2 people are Rosemary Morrison, the owner of Max Drive-In, which was one of our lap destinations on Friday nights. She was the wife of Matt Morrison, a legendary administrator and coach at Mount Zion and Colonel Crawford. The other person was our mom. She was 97 years old at that induction and would live only 3 more months. But except for our family's weddings and birth of our children, I never saw her smile as bright as that night. You see, Mom and Rosemary were best friends, and for years attended every Winford girls basketball game, both home and away, and most boys' games. Amy Sheldon, the ultra-successful girls basketball coach, and the Winford administration bought 2 stadium seats for Mom and Rosie to sit behind the bench in the second row for every game. This way they could avoid the crowds and greet the Winford people as they entered the gym. By sitting so close to the bench, they became grandmothers to the girls' players. One year, Amy put Mom and Rosie in the team picture that was in the program for each game. While the ladies, who both still drove, would park back by the officials, once again, thanks to the administration, so they would not have to fight the crowds and could enter the game peacefully. By sitting so close, they would also occasionally help Amy coach by giving her suggestions on when to press, what offense to run, what out-of-bounds play, etc. Also, because of their proximity to the floor, they often helped the officials, many times correcting them after they made a mistake or a bad call. I'm sure the officials greatly appreciated their help and scolding. But it wasn't just basketball that these 2 outstanding fans supported. It was also football. The administration allowed them to park near the end zone in their car where they could keep warm and still watch the game. I would imagine they also had snacks and possibly a thermos full of margaritas. Mom would talk about how people would come up and knock on her window. Mom would put the window down and the people would say, "How do you get to park by the end zone?" Mom would say, "When you turn 97, you can park here too," and then politely put the window back up. In November, when Dane called me, I was preparing for back surgery. I had been in unbearable pain for a number of weeks, and his phone call was some of the best medicines that I could ever have expected. I was so excited primarily because I graduated from high school in 1965, which was the 2nd year of Winford High School. If you were alive then, you probably listened to our games sitting around a big radio, the same one you listened to the FDR fireside chats. Crawford County was created in 1820, so it is currently 205 years old. The Hall of Fame was created in 2006, so you can imagine the job the committee has in selecting players, both women and men, out of the thousands and thousands of Crawford County athletes. Inductees, we should be so proud that we were selected to be in this austere group. Now, as a high school principal, I would meet with all of the classes in the first week of school. Now, at that class meeting, I would tell them that to enjoy their high school experience, they should work hard, play hard, and stay out of jail. By working hard, I meant you don't fall on top of the mountain. You work hard to scale it, and when you reach the pinnacle, your hard work and experience make it all worth the effort. If you stumble and hit rock bottom in your life, get up. You now have a solid foundation from which to build. If you haven't failed in your life sometime, it means you have never challenged yourself. Play hard. God gives us one chance here, and we must enjoy our time. Enjoy life. Have fun. Talk with your family. Take vacations. Get out of your comfort zone. Then, Jim Valvano famous North Carolina state basketball coach, said you should have a good laugh every day to energize your body and soul. Stay out of jail. Kids laugh. They say, boy, that Dane will have a hard time doing that. But I was very serious. Don't put yourself in a situation you cannot get out of, such as getting pregnant, alcohol, drugs, trouble with the law. Make wise decisions. I always told students that when it comes time to make a decision, listen to your parents, your teachers, your counselors, your coaches, your pastor, your friends. But when it comes time to make a final decision, make it yourself. That way you get all the credit or you get all the blame. We held them accountable for their actions. The athletes and inductees into the Hall of Fame this evening and since 2006 got here by working hard, having fun, and staying out of jail. I thank all of my family and friends for supporting me and for all of you who came to support all of us and to make this a very special evening. At this time, I would like to paraphrase Coach Jim Tressel by saying, I can't believe God gave me a chance to be a Winford Royal. Then I would like to quote Jim Tressel by saying, I can't believe God gave me a chance to be a Buckeye. O-H. 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 Thank you very much.
Our next inductee is Mr. John Supon. When I was a high school athlete, if we ever had a big game, I knew who was officiating it. And I'll tell you what, he was never afraid to make the big call in a big game. And as I read through this, you'll understand why he got to officiate in so many big games. John Supon is a 1972 graduate of Crestline High School and has had an extraordinary career in sports, dedicating over 4 decades to officiating, coaching, and inspiring athletes. As an OSHA basketball official for 44 years, he officiated 4 state tournaments, including the Division I state finals in both boys and girls basketball, and officiated in 33 boys and girls regional assignments. The Division I girls state championship game in 1998 was especially meaningful for John, with the rarity of all 3 officials being from the Mansfield Association, and with the honor of working that game with 2 fellow referees that he highly respected, Russell Pitts, and I'm probably going to mess this up, Bob Boble. That particular game was the last girls' state championship game played in the legendary St. John Arena. On March 17, 2005, John refereed the Division II state semifinals where Upper Sandusky, led by John Diebler, beat Dayton Dunbar, led by Daquan Cook, in one of the highest scoring games, 95-90, in tournament history. John Diebler and his older brother Jacob scored 29 points and 15 points respectively, and Cook scored 26 points for Dunbar. With an attendance of 15,582 fans inside the Value City Arena at Ohio State's Jerome Schottenstein Center, John said the atmosphere was electric and it was an outstanding game. In addition to his regional and state tournament games, several others are memorable for John. He did several Winford, Ontario games back in the Rob Sheldon, Joe Baylog days, and if anyone was around those were some big-time games. John loved the competition those games provided and knew he would be working with good teams and good coaches. Another regular season game that John remembers well is the night he refereed an Akron St. Vincent Mary game, the famous high school standout LeBron James. John's contributions to the sport of basketball were recognized through numerous honors, including the Goebel Award from the Mansfield Officials Association and the Northern 10 Conference John Gurney Award. In addition, he was named North-South News Journal Official of the Year 4 times. John's impact extended beyond officiating into coaching. He served as an assistant football coach at Crestline under John DePietro's staff for 25 years and at Buckeye Central for 1 year, as well as Bucyrus for 1 year. In addition, he coached the Bucyrus girls tennis team for 10 years and the boys tennis team for 12 years, which included coaching 6 district qualifiers, Tennis Coach of the Year award 7 times. He also contributed as an assistant track coach at Crestline for several years, as well as being the head Crestline golf coach for 4 years. In recognition of his contributions to the sports and community, John was inducted into the Crestline Sports Hall of Fame in 2009. His lifelong dedication to athletics has left a lasting legacy, enriching the lives of countless athletes and sports programs. John is married to lifetime educator Pat Rainball Supon, and they have 1 adult son, Aaron. John Supon.
I'm going to do something a lot of you probably wished I would have done earlier. I'm going to put my glasses on. I think. First of all, I'd like to say something about an earlier inductee. When I was hired at Bucyrus in 2005 to work for coach and coach over there, and Mr. Kimmel hired me, and first day I reported at a job, I reported my classroom, and first guy who knocked on my door was Phil Joseph. And he walked in, he goes, "Hey, I just want to welcome you here to Bucyrus." And I said, "Well, thanks, Phil. I really appreciate that." And he goes, "And also, I got a question about a call you made in one of my games." You know, and we had a joke about that. But he was one of my biggest supporters at Bucyrus. And when I coached tennis, he always made it a point to get out to a few of our matches, and I always appreciated that. And I miss him a lot, and he was a great friend. And congratulations to Pat and the family. I couldn't have picked a better community to grow up in than Crestline. I loved the community. It gave me everything I needed. And like Lance said about New Washington, it was family in Crestline. And I love Crawford County. Never wanted to live anywhere else, actually. And I had great influences growing up, and I think we all, you know, growing up, we take for granted sometimes. And when you get older, you think about those things. And my parents were great influences on me. And my dad was a great athlete at Crestline, and my mom actually grew up in New Washington and was an athlete in New Washington. And my sister was a great role model also. She was a great backer of me when I played athletics, attending my events. And I had all the support I needed at home. And I really appreciated that. But when I started in athletics, my first coach was Coach Hudson. And he's in this Hall of Fame here. And he was a larger-than-life person to me. The football stadium's named after him. He taught me how to drive. He taught driver's ed in high school for us. And what a great influence he was. And he put me on the right path. And then my neighbor behind me was a guy by the name of Mike Gottfried, who went on to coach at the University of Pittsburgh and was the ESPN commentator. And he was older than I was, but he would always walk by the house, and he always spent time with me throwing the football or the baseball. And then I had another friend who lived next to my grandma and grandpa by the name of Rocky Alt, who went on to Wittenberg University, was All-American in baseball. And again, he was a great influence on my athletic career and interest in sports. And then An occasional visitor to the house was a guy by the name of Gates Brown, who played for the Detroit Tigers, who my dad mentored and coached when he was when Gates was playing in junior high and or playing baseball in the Pony League. And then also my high school coaches were great influences to me also. My high school career wasn't the greatest. I think John Diebler scored more points in one game than I scored in my high school career, but I gave it my best effort. And the picture of me on the screen there playing defense, I played defense like Lance did pretty much. I was more of an offensive threat than I was a defensive threat, that's for sure. But when I decided to get into coaching, John DePietro and Jimmy Glauer and a guy by the name of Gary Strong were huge influences on me getting into coaching, and that kind of got me started. And then also when I started coaching tennis at Bucyrus, there was a guy by the name of Sam Sabak, who I started a tennis invitational in his honor. And those guys were such great influences on my life and getting me into coaching. And if it wouldn't have been for that, I wouldn't have spent 47 years coaching. I miss coaching a lot, and I miss the kids. But the officiating is something that, when I got into it, I never in my wildest dreams thought 44 years of officiating experience. And the opportunity to work high school and college venues all over the state of Ohio, your biggest universities, working high school games, and I credit that to guys like Mac Morrison, who was our district representative for the OHSAA Northwest District, and my first partner, Dan Stanovich. But I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you about a couple things that were huge influences on me as far as basketball goes. One year I had the Willard Mansfield senior game at the old Mansfield Pete Henry Gymnasium. And Bob Haas was the coach at Willard. Joe Pratt's the coach of senior high. Willard was second in the state, Division II. Mansfield Senior was third in the state, Division I. Sold out, packed house. I'm a young official. Coach Haas, he don't know me from Adam. So I walk on the court and I'm looking out and looking around. There's nowhere to sit. And Coach Haas is kind of standing over there looking at me like, who is this guy? Well, to say the least, I didn't care. I was there working the game. I was happier than heck, And we go 3 overtimes, and Willard ends up losing the game in 3 overtimes to Mansfield Senior. So I'm happy. We go down to the locker room. I'm excited and all that. And I get dressed, and the AD for Mansfield Senior comes up and he goes, Coach Haas is waiting downstairs to talk to you guys. I thought he was going to congratulate us. Hey, you guys did a great job. Well, I was pretty naive at the time, and he didn't want waiting for me to tell me how good a job we did. And anyway, so the AD said, I think you might want to wait here a little longer. So finally, Coach Haas got tired of waiting, and then he left. And next time I saw Coach Haas, he forgot all about it. But I learned something new that night. I heard that when coaches are waiting for you, it's usually not to say you did a good job. And then not too long after that, I had the Winford, Ontario game one year, and which I had the first time I had it several times. And of course, Rob Sheldon at home in Ontario with Joe Baylog. And for you guys that didn't know Joe Baylog, when they had the word intense in the dictionary, there should be a picture of him right there next to it. But anyway, the game's going on, and I'm a nervous wreck. I'm working with John Gurney, who's the top official in the Northwest District probably at the time. And so nobody's yelling at John. They're all yelling at me. And I thought I changed my name to something else, but I can't pronounce it. So, from what I was listening to. But anyway, so I'm doing the game, and I make a call, and it's not good. And I know it's not good. And everybody there knows it's not good, including my wife, who was in the stands. And so I go over, and Rob walks over to me, and he puts his arm on me, and John, you got this game for a reason. You're here for a reason. So, quit being nervous and just call the game. And after that, it really settled me down, and I really appreciated that. Of course, when he put his arm around me, Joe didn't like that, you know. So anyway, but those games there, when I was younger officials, they made me a better official. And sometimes I got discouraged, and I didn't know if I wanted to keep doing it, but I did. I remember when I started out officiating, I worked 2 junior high games for $15. You know, so you didn't do it for the money. You did it because you really had to do it. But I want to tell you a little bit about the LeBron James game, and not about how good a player he is, because you already know that. But we worked the game, and it wasn't nothing exciting about it because they won by about 40 points. And LeBron didn't even jump center. I was a referee. I was all excited. I was going to throw the ball up. He didn't even jump center. They had somebody better than him to jump center even. So, but when the game got over with, we were walking on. It's the first time I ever seen the losing team with autograph books going through the handshake line, you know. And so they were all going to get LeBron's autograph. They didn't care if they lost. They just wanted to get his autograph, you know. A half hour later, we leave. LeBron James is sitting in the stands signing autographs yet. He hadn't left the court. Now, this kid's a sophomore in high school at that time, you know, and I'm thinking, that kid's going somewhere because he's a good kid, because he's up there signing autographs for everybody. But the state tournament that year, I'm walking upstairs, go to a seat, and the Akron St. Vincent St. Mary's team sitting there. And I walk by, and LeBron looks at me, and I'm thinking, he don't remember me. He goes, "Hey, ref, how you doing?" Like that. So that kind of made me feel good, and you know, that was one of the more exciting things that happened to me. But I'd like to say thank you to some people who are very important, are here tonight. I'd like to thank my family, my sister Kayleen, her husband John, my 2 nieces, Shannon and Jennifer, Shannon's husband Ethan, and Shannon's boy Connor, my high school friends Jan, Tim, Steve, and Bonnie, and my cruising buddies, Jimmy and Norma. And, you know, and then I'd like to thank my son, Aaron, because I missed a lot of his stuff growing up, when he was growing up, because of basketball. And, of course, my wife, Pat, who, without her, I wouldn't have done a lot of the things that I was able to do, because she spent a lot of nights when I'm on the road, you know, at home. And I missed a lot of Christmas parties and things like that. And without their support, this wouldn't be possible. But also some of the influences in my life, like Mac Morrison, you know, his name was brought up. What a scary guy, but one of the best friends you can have. Just an outstanding person. I also like to thank some of my partners through the years. Mark Light was a... what? Yeah. Mark saw everyone I missed, I think. Wayne Blankenship, Mark Heyman, Howie Dent, Bob Babel, Pat Mulhern, Gary Smith. Those guys are all, they were more than partners, they were friends, and we still are friends. 2 that are no longer with us, Robbie Lee. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about John Gurney, who was my partner. He accomplished a lot, and a man of faith, was a great partner, excellent official, just a great human being. And people ask me, you know, boy, if you could do a game again, what game would it be? It wouldn't be the state tournament game. It wouldn't be the, you know, something like that. It would be a local county rivalry game, because I was lucky to officiate back in I think the heyday of Crawford County basketball, when people stood in line for an hour before the junior varsity game to get in, and tickets were at a premium, and you had you had Rob Sheldon, you had Dick Heath, Steve Moore at Buckeye Central, you had Dave Freilich at Colonel Crawford, and you had Jim Kirk at Gallion, and you know, and Phil, and I remember Dave Hershey at Bucyrus, and you know, those games were intense. I'm telling you right now, I mean, as a basketball official, you walked in the gym, it was packed. And those are the things I miss. that'd be the one thing I would go back to do. I'd take a county rivalry game any day. And I was talking to Coach Loy before here a little bit, and I refereed when Lance played at Buckeye Central, so that's how long I've been around. So, and they played St. Pete's in 1983 at St. Pete's, and it was a huge game back then because St. Pete's was basketball royalty in Division IV, and of course, and Buckeye also had a great game and a great team that year, and I think Buckeye Central ended up winning that game. I'm sure they did. But, you know, those are the games I loved, was the local high school games. And I was very fortunate to have a career in that and to stay healthy and to have a family and friends and co-officials that I enjoyed spending time with. And I'd just like to wrap up by saying that congratulations to the rest of the inductees, and thanks to the Hall of Fame committee for selecting me this unexpected honor. And I wish, I would not change a thing, and I'd do it all over again if I could. Thank you.
All right, our last inductee is the 1995 Buckeye Central team. Was it 82, 83 last year? I look at the pictures of these Buckeye Central athletes from the 80s and 90s, and there must be something in the water. I mean, some of these guys' necks are bigger than my thighs. So whatever you guys were doing back then, fantastic. 1 year after going to the regional finals, the Bucks brought back many fine players for another season. The season started with 2 solid wins and a tough win before the Bucks went into league play. The first NCC contest was difficult, a hard-fought win at Riverdale 9-0, and the following week was another tough game where the Bucks defeated a determined Winford team 32-22. 2 shutouts followed, and another win with the defense only giving up 3 points, bringing the Bucks to a record of 8-0. In the final 2 league contests, the Bucks flexed their offensive muscle, scoring 41 and 52 points to finish the regular season with a perfect record of 10-0. In the playoffs, a strong offensive Louisville team was defeated by the Bucks 35-21 with a lightning delay in the middle of the game. The next opponent, Newark Catholic, had one of the richest histories of football tradition in the state, but the Bucks won in double overtime, 12-6. The next week at Berea, the Bucks soundly defeated Independence to make the state finals at Massillon. In the state finals, another tradition-rich school, St. Henry, was their opponent. In a hard-fought contest settled by a field goal, the Bucks were defeated 10-7, ending their season as state runner-ups at 13-1. The 1995 Bucks roster included Ryan Berger, Marshall Daniel, Mike Sipe, Derek Capel, Mark Kurgis, Eric Clady, Josh Carl, Tim Rohrbach, Kevin Eckstein, Mike Stahl, Nick Seisel, Oak McKeon, Ryan Norris, Robbie Manley, Brian Haydinger, Mike Tyner, Mike Rohrbaugh, Aaron Clady, Jason Downard, Nathan Luthold, Danny Chapman, Eric Frazee, Eric Richland, Nick Rowland, Kenny Stacklin, Jeremy Clay, Robert Stewart, Mike Tyner, Jason Kimmel, Justin Tuttle, Andy McKeon, Tom Vanderpool, Steve Schell, Jeremy Oates, Todd McDougall, Rocky White, Gene Ludhart, Chris Nye, David Kurgis, and Jason Fox. The Bucks were coached by head coach Mike Tracy, and the assistant coaches on that team were Jeff Dawson, Kevin Kimmel, Dave Aubrey, Bob Dilly, and Olin Dials, the 1995 Buckeye Central football team. Hey, Coach.
Thank you. I know. You can slide over this. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to thank the committee for this honor. I think it was a very great honor for these players, and it shows a lot about how people in the county feel about the different outstanding teams that have been played over the years. Just a couple things about the team. Back in before, unfortunately, St. Bernard's closed, St. Bernard's, the parochial school in New Washington, had a football team, and Buckeye Central had a junior high football team. And on the last game of the year, they always played on Thursday night under the lights at the football stadium. And I remember when these kids, well, they're not kids, but these young men were in 8th grade, and they come out there on Thursday night to play, and Buckeye Central won. It was a very close game. And afterwards, I'm talking to the assistant coaches, and I go, we're going to be pretty darn good in the next couple of years, because these kids played so well in 8th grade. And the one outstanding thing, I was a tough coach. I'll admit it. I told them before, I was hard on them. But they needed it. They needed the discipline, not that they didn't get discipline at home, but they needed discipline to grow as a team. And the thing I remember the most about being their coach is no matter what we asked them to do, if we asked them to run 10 110s at the end of practice, now they were swearing at me, I know that, I understand that, and I don't blame them, but they did it. And if we had to go out and we had to play a good defensive game, you look back to that season, we didn't play very good against Riverdale. That was probably the worst game we played all year. We had no rivalry with Riverdale. It wasn't like playing Crawford. It wasn't like playing Wynford, Ontario, or the other teams in the league at that time. And we didn't play very well. But they pulled it together and played hard enough and figured out a way to win the game. And it went that way the entire season. If we had to score, we scored. If we had to play defense, we played defense. If we had to play in lousy weather, we played in lousy weather. But they continued to play, and they enjoyed it. It was a great time coaching because the players, the kids, they enjoyed it. And I can remember late in the season, we had some bad weather because we got to play 4 extra games. And we loved it. But we wanted to go out and have an opportunity just to be out. So we went out, I think it was for the 3rd playoff game, and it was snowing and blowing, and we went out, and we were only out for maybe 30 minutes, and we stood by the field house out of the wind and just walked through stuff. But this is what these kids did. They did whatever was necessary to go out and have a great season. And they were very unselfish. Some of these kids played every down both ways. Some of them only played offense. Some only played defense, but they did whatever they could contribute to help the team win. Some only played on special teams at times, but they played to win, and they played for each other. And that's what I think. I coached football for 35 years, and that's what makes a team. It's not necessarily the wins and losses. It's how the kids feel about each other. And these players all loved each other. They loved to play the game. And, some of the highlights, we have not been overly successful against Wynford. We beat Wynford in 94 when these kids were all juniors. And we had a tough game against Wynford. And it's late in the game. We get the ball. There's, I think, 8.5 minutes to go in the game. And we were ahead by 3 points. And we got the ball on our own 15-yard line, and it took us 18 plays to score. And when Winford got the ball back, game was over. They had no chance. But that's what they did. And, we didn't throw the ball. Mike was our quarterback. And if you look at our offensive line, we had big kids. And he couldn't see over the line at times. But we did not throw the ball. But what we did is we depended on our kids up front and our running backs, our wide receivers. When we threw the ball, we were successful. We had good wide receivers. The only score we had in the state championship game was a Division VI record at that time for the longest touchdown pass from Mike to Eric Clady. It has been broken, but at that time it was a state record. And but the kids did what they needed to do to win. And we thought we were going to be good. We had lost one game the season before, and then we lost in the second round of the playoffs. And as the season went on, we knew we were going to be pretty good. But at that time, only 4 teams in each region got in, not like it is now. And in 94 and 95, we were 4th in the region. We had lost one game in 2 years, and we were 4th each year in the region. And so we were fortunate to get in. But we took care of it then. The kids, the first game we played, first game they'd ever played on AstroTurf. We went up on a Wednesday. The school allowed us to go up, and we practiced on the field. We practiced in the snow, and we played Lowellville. And Lowellville was the best team we had seen. They had 3 kids in the backfield that were part of the 4x100 state relay team the year before. They were fast. They were big. They had a 6'4", 265-pound tight end. But we put the ball down it kicked off. We didn't let them use their speed. We were ahead 21-0 right off the bat, and we're taking the ball down to score again. And the head coach made a mistake. He called a pass play instead of just running it down there to put the game out of control. They intercepted. They came back. They tied the game, but then we put them away. Second game of the playoffs, we went to Marion Harding to play Newark Catholic. Newark Catholic had won 11, 12 state championships. It meant more to me than it did to the kids. I understood Newark Catholic. And I went to Fredericktown with Chris Boyd, and I rode down there to exchange film with Newark Catholic. And when I got out of the car, thank you. I am a superstitious sports person. And we met at Fredericktown to exchange film. I pulled into the gas station in Fredericktown. I got out of the car, and there was a penny laying on the ground, heads up. And everybody knows if you find a penny and it heads up, it's good luck. I took that penny, put it in my sock, I wore it the whole game at Newark Catholic. And I told all the kids about it afterwards, and the parents, they made lucky pennies for the kids. And every kid the next week, in front of their locker, going into the locker room, there were pennies, heads up. And then we won that game. The next week, there were dollars. And everybody got lucky dollars. And if we would have kept winning, I don't know how much money we would have got. But it was then the third game we won, and then we get to the state championship. And St. Henry, they've won 6, 7 state championships. They've had people played in the NFL. They've had some great players. And it was, they kicked the field goal early. We took the ball down. Mike made a pass to Eric for the touchdown, and then they completed a long pass, and they fumbled twice inside the 10-yard line. We covered the 2 fumbles, or we would have been state champs, but that's sports. And it was a great group of young men who worked hard, and it's something that me, my family, I know the fans in New Washington and in the county will remember. And we appreciate this opportunity, and it's something that they're going to remember their entire life, and we appreciate the opportunity for this induction tonight. Thank you. 160 tackles.
All right, I wanted to say a special thanks to Maggie, who runs the Trillium Center here, Catering Country Style, for providing the food. Very honored to have all you guys here. Before you guys leave, we would like to take a picture with all the inductees here at the back. And then anybody in here, if you guys know of somebody that you think is deserving of being here, you can go to CrawfordCountySportsHOF.com. There are nomination forms on there. So just keep that in mind. If there's anybody that you know that should be in here, you can go ahead and nominate them. Thank you for coming out.